of common nature amongst various toppers. So if you are going to be able to replicate these, it can guarantee you that you are going to be one of the good scorers, okay, for mains examination. So very simple things actually. The answer has to be very simple. Very simple. What I'm trying to mean by that is that you don't need to use a lot of jargons for that matter. You don't need to use flowery language for that matter. Even though your language is easy to understand, even though you are using simple day-to-day words, that is fine. Your answers have to be formal in nature. Your answers, even though those are simple, they have to be easily understandable. Your answers should be also written in legible format. Your handwriting should be in such a manner that it is easy to read. It should not be a trouble for the evaluator that what has been written actually. It should not be seen as if you are just trying to write something deliberately so as to avoid scrutiny. You are writing something so that nobody is able to read it itself. Okay? You should not be reading like that. It has to be easy to understand, very simple in nature. No deviation from the question asked. This is the very, very important characteristic, but very difficult to follow. Because what happens is that in those particular given time period of 3 hours, we have to write for 250 marks for that matter. And we have to be very crisp. We have to hit the bullseye from the right go. What I have observed over the years while evaluating the copies is that if some question has been asked, students take some time to arrive at the topic. They try to introduce the topic, then they try to go and have some parallel examples. But those examples, because of the fact that they have made some example in their notes, they just want to try and fit in those particular examples, even if those examples are not entirely relevant for that particular question. So we have to hit the bullseye from the right go. That is very, very important. There are various approaches of starting the answer, constructing the body of the answer, then concluding the answer. We will discuss about that. But these are few of the basic principles. And understanding the demand of the question properly. Because at times we don't understand the demand of the question itself. At times there are 2 or 3 subparts of the question. And we only end up focusing more on one of the subparts while doing injustice to some other parts. So that should not be done. We have to focus on all the important aspects, all the subparts that have been asked in the question, and we have to give justice accordingly. Addressing all parts of the question, that's why it becomes very important. If you are ticking these 5 simple boxes, it will ensure that your answers are easy to understand and readable, and they are going to give you above average number of marks. Because few students, in attempts to, in a way, improvise, in attempts to try and impress the examiner, they try to include lots of examples, they try to include lots of jargons, lots of different couplets from the poems, subhashitas, etc., etc. All these things are important, mind you, okay? But we should not overdo it, and we should not use them wherever they are not relevant, okay? So we have to use them in appropriate manner. How to do that, we will try and understand here onwards, okay? Before going into details of introduction, body, conclusion, let's try to break the details about the time management, because that becomes very important in GS 1, 2, 3. GS 4, there will be different, something different, because there are 20 markers questions as well in the form of case study. We will discuss about it later. But these 10 marks, 15 marks, why I have shown apart from 10 and 15 marks, 12.5 marks as well, because what used to happen is that UPSC has not given us a format. That every year they will ask questions of only 10 marks or 15 marks. Because of the fact that what has been happening before some years, that is before 2016 and before 2016, all the questions used to be of 12.5 marks. 20 questions, 250 marks. Okay? Suddenly in 2017 mains, suddenly out of nowhere, okay, students did not have any idea. Essay paper went like always. Okay? There was no surprises in essay paper. When they opened GS1 paper, many students didn't even realize that there has been change of pattern of the questions. They started writing, and after few questions, 5-6 questions, some of them realized, yes, there has been change in the marking scheme. Now, since 2017 mains, what has happened is that 10 markers, there are 10 questions, 15 markers, there are 10 questions. Instead of 20 questions, each of 12.5 marks, like before 2016 or in 2016. That's why we have to be sure that we are planning, we are practicing for all these kinds of different time durations and different marks. Why I have given these time durations roughly? For example, 10 markers, if we have 60 minutes, in total 6 minutes each, and then 15 marks, 9 minutes each. 90 plus 60, how many minutes? 150 minutes. Total paper is of 180 minutes. Okay? On an average, in some of the questions, we might get exceeded. We might require some time to, in a way, think about, brainstorm about those questions. That's why 30 minutes we can keep for ourselves as buffer. Okay? That's why we have to try and finish every answer in about 6 minutes. 30 seconds here and there, about a minute in one or two questions won't matter. Okay? So roughly we have to focus on these, but we have to practice some of the questions for these kinds of marks as well, because UPSC, being UPSC, it is unpredictable service commission and it can throw any kinds of surprises anytime. And that's why we have to be mindful while writing the answer. We have to be mindful while opening the question paper. We have to try and see the word limit, etc. initially as well, so that there are no surprises. Because what happened in 2017 mains, some of the students ended up scoring less in GS1 because of the fact that first 10 questions were of 10 marks and they were giving equal time, about this time, for 12 and 5 marks. Imagining that these questions are of 12 and half marks, they ended up giving 7, 8, 9 minutes for 10 marker questions, which were not important, which were not required. Okay? And that's why they ended up having less time for more important questions of 15 markers, which were from 11 to 20th question. I hope you are getting the point what I'm trying to convey. Okay? That's why we have to be aware about time management. And while practicing, it is very important to finish the answers within these timelines itself, because what tends to happen is that students, in an attempt to write good quality answers, best quality answers, this is a good approach, okay, but very impractical in nature, because in attempt to write best quality answers while practicing at home, during sessions, etc., while completing assignments that we have given in the class, they tend to take extra time. They tend to take a lot of amount of time to complete the answers. They end up writing good answers. We evaluate them, we give them high marks. They also feel that yes, they are prepared for the mains. But if we are taking about 10 minutes, 12 minutes for 10 marker question, we definitely will be able to write good quality answer. Few students end up taking half an hour for writing 10 marker question and show it to us. We feel like how well he has presented, how well he or she has included various different dimensions, etc. But that is just deceiving yourself. That is not going to, in a way, make you actually confident, because you yourself also know what is the reality. So don't deceive yourself. That is foremost and first most important thing, because of the fact that if you are deceiving yourself, you will be in your paradise. You will feel that your mains preparation is going on a right track, but in actual paper, you will not be able to finish the question paper. Finishing the question paper itself is kind of a prerequisite these days, that we have to finish the question paper at least, so as to stand a chance in getting your name in the list. These days, what has been happening is that because of lot of practice that students have been doing, almost all the toppers have kind of ensured that they are able to finish the paper in time. So that is kind of prerequisite, because what happens is that even if you are writing some answer which is of a lesser quality, but still if you have ensured that you have made note of, you have mentioned at least 4 to 5 important dimensions of that particular answer, you are going to end up getting at least 2 marks, 2.5 marks, 3 marks out of 10 marks. And that is how many of the toppers gain those particular marks in some of the questions that they don't know the answer of, but they still end up writing few of the important dimensions, and those 2 marks, 3 marks getting added up in every paper end up giving them edge of more than 25, 30, 35 marks at times. Okay? So that's why we have to focus on it accordingly. Then if we see speed issues, many of the students face these speed issues. There are 2 types of issues that I notice usually. You might have also noticed the same. There are actually genuine speed issues at times, because of which students, because of their technique of holding the pen and writing on a piece of paper, because of probably having the pen which is too heavy, which is not that much smooth to write, at times what might happen is that because of the fact that their grip is not proper, because of the fact that they have not practiced it enough, that's why their speed is less. There are these genuine speed issues. These can be managed by correcting your grip, by correcting the kind of posture of writing that you have developed over the years, by trying to in a way use different kinds of pens. You can increase these genuine speed issues. These can be increased with corrections or with more and more practice. But the second kind of issue that many of the students face is that they lack content. Because of the fact that they don't have enough information, what happens is that they end up thinking more and writing less. They end up taking more and more time. And that's why usually what happens is that they are not able to finish their paper in time. So having considered that finishing paper in time, writing each and every question is sort of prerequisite to clear the mains. We have to definitely work on these speed issues. So whichever kind of issue you have to analyze it. When will you be able to analyze that? After you have studied at least 1 or 2 major subjects of GS, start writing answers on those and analyze whether you have been able to follow such kinds of timelines. 1 or 2 minutes here and there is fine. Understand that. Okay? But if you are exceeding that time limits by leap and bounds, you should be worried and you should be doing something to resolve those issues. Okay? So how to do that? Start keeping a clock on your desk, basically, while you are practicing. When I also started my answer writing, whether that was essay, whether that was something else, I used to keep the clock in front and I used to time it accordingly and I used to manage my writing. Okay? And that helped me myself in a way improve this answer writing skills. When I started answer writing for my first attempt, for my first mains, etc., that was quite handy. Also, the kind of technique that I'm showing, many of the students use these pens. These pens are V7 or this Tech Point V7, etc. These are one of the most popular pens for mains writing students. Okay? Even if you go at the centers where usually mains are conducted, these pens in nearby stationaries are usually short in stock. That's why you have to keep your material ready accordingly. Okay? So while writing, many of the students end up having these pens. And at least in this V7 high-tech point, what happens is that this body becomes too heavy. Even though the pen's grip and everything is good, then what we can simply do, as I have removed the body of the pen and only kept the other part of the pen in my hand. That is also possible. That is entirely going to reduce the weight and that is going to increase the speed. That helped me at least write one more answer in each and every question paper. That definitely helped me. And what happened is that in my first mains by mistake, I was not carrying the extra pocket of this pen, and this particular pen box, the pocket that I had, I left in the room itself while going to the center. So I had to borrow another pen from another friend of mine, but he was only having a ball pen, and I ended up wasting lot more time because I was not practiced on that. I had not practiced on that ball pen writing part, and I ended up writing 2 questions less, and that costed me very much in that particular paper. And one of the reasons that I was not able to clear my first mains. Okay, I hope you are getting the point why I'm trying to talk about such small aspects as well, because it might end up ruining your chances of clearing the prelims, clearing the mains. Okay, so that's why you have to focus on these as well. Even though these pens are very much famous, or very many students have been using these pens, it is not as if I am being the brand ambassador of these pens and marketing it to you. You try it out. If you like, you may use it. If you like some other pen, it is completely okay. Are fountain pens allowed? It is possible. If you want to write with the fountain pens as well, it is okay. But there might be some issues of leakage of the ink. There might be issues of those particular papers are not usually very high quality. That's why that might get leaked onto the back side of the paper as well, and that might ruin the experience of paper checking, writing, etc. That's why try to avoid. If you have the fountain pen practice, try to practice with some other kind of pens. If you are not at all comfortable, then only use fountain pens is what I would advise. Okay, so try to use them before you while practicing as well. Try to practice with the pen that you are finally going to write with only, so that it will ensure that you are habitual to that. Color of the pen. Now this is also important question that many of the students keep asking about. So while practicing, while writing actual mains paper as well, we have to try and use blue or black. Any of them is fine. All of these 2 colors are allowed. Green or red color pen are not allowed. Only you have to write either in blue or black. That is allowed. Okay. What students end up doing is that at times they keep some other colored pen as well. They use it for underlining. They use it for highlighting some important points. So that is not allowed. This is not the examination of painting or using multiple colored pens, etc., etc. We have to be using only 2 pens for that matter. Who should be using blue? Who should be using black? And can we use combination of both? Usually, combination of both should be avoided as far as possible. At the max, what you can do, if you have that habit, if your speed of writing is immensely good, then only you should be using actually 2 pens, because it ends up adding some delay. You have to keep one pen off, then you have to take another pen and write 2 3 seconds, 4 5 seconds every time, and that is going to ruin the experience again. That is going to decrease your speed. But who should be using blue and who should be using black? Black should be used usually only by those. Now, why I'm saying this, after analyzing hundreds of copies over the years, after checking hundreds of copies over the years, those students whose handwriting is very neat and clean, they usually don't rub much. They usually don't strike out many of the words, etc., etc. Those students only who have the habit of writing in a clean manner should be using black pen. Because what happens is that if your handwriting is very shabby, if your handwriting is not up to the mark, you have the habit of striking out a word and writing new word and again correct that, etc., etc. Imagine on white page, if there are black words, they are going to attract attention, first of all. And if you are rubbing it, it will be directly in the eye. That's why if your handwriting is good, neat, clean, pointed, then only you should go with the black pen. Blue pen, even if we rub, even if we strike out, it should be avoided with blue pen as well. But it would not attract that much amount of attention as black pen would. That is the only thing. Okay? It is entirely up to you, your choice of color of pen, okay? In blue or black, but usual advice that I'm trying to give you. Okay? So color of the pen. Then let's go to the structure of the answers in GS 1, 2, 3, 4. Usually there is this body of the part of introduction, then we have to do body part, then we have to write conclusion, etc., etc. Okay? So while doing this, what we have to focus is that in introduction there are various ways of introducing the answer. So one of the ways, from one of the toppers of one of the years, who was topper in all the GS papers for that matter, combined together total if we see. So her copy it is, don't beat around the bush is what I am trying to make you understand from this. Address the question at first go, like this. The slogan, the question was the slogan, minimum government, maximum governance has seen emphasis on minimum government, but lacks effort on maximum governance. Comment. All of you know this slogan for that matter. All of you know this slogan, okay? Maximum governance, minimum government and maximum governance. So basically the slogan to how to improve and how to better the governance structure. So she has directly hit the bullseye. What she could have written is that she could have written the definition of government. She could have started with the definition of governance, how the governance is important, etc., etc. But what has been asked? Slogan, and in that slogan, minimum government and maximum governance. Okay? So minimum government is there, but efforts on maximizing governance are not there, is what the tone of the question is. Okay? So now she has started with slogan of minimum government, maximum governance implies. She has given directly meaning of that. Okay? Reducing the size of the bureaucracy and administration, but at the same time making it more efficient and effective in delivery of public services. So she has understood the sentence as everyone would if they have read this, and she has just summarized it. She has just given meaning of it in simpler terms. She has elaborated on that particular statement. Okay? So starting with the bullseye, instead of beating around the bush, we have to directly hit the bullseye and we have to score the marks. That's why introduction should be simple. Most important and most easy way to start an answer is write definition. Definitional approach is one of the easiest and very, very efficient tool to start an answer. What is this definitional approach? Whatever it may be the question, you have to start with the definition of the core aspect of that question. Over here, minimum government, maximum governance is the core aspect. Define that, what it is. Okay, she has done that. Length. What tends to happen is that this introductory para, some of the students end up writing so much in introduction itself rather than body of the question. First para itself becomes about half page of length or more than that at times. So that should be avoided. What we should be doing is that we should be reducing that to either 1/4 or at 1/5 actually, or at the max to 1/4 of the page. Not more than that, because introduction is going to be that much only. It should be that much only. Okay? It should not be covering many different points in introduction itself. Introduction is there just to introduce your perspective on that particular question. Just a second. I just want to instruct the people over here to start AC. It has been feeling very hot over here. हाँ साक्षी AC चालू करावं लागणार आहे. The length. I hope that you have understood how much length it should be. Then if we see various ways, interesting ways to start an answer. Interesting, now what I'm saying. Easiest way has been definitional approach. But other approaches that are going to give you more rewards actually are using some examples in a summarized manner. Few of the students start writing example, end up wasting entire paragraph, at times half a page in that example only. Example is just there to prove a point. It is not there to entirely explain a concept. So make it a point to understand that particular aspect as well. Okay? Or a fact. That fact may be very much relevant on that particular point, for that particular question. That fact may be. काय एसी चालू आहे का बंद आहे? मला चालू वाटत नाहीये, फक्त त्याचे फ्लॅप ओपन आहे असं वाटतंय. येते का हवा? बर, मग हा आणि हा फॅन लाव. माझ्या डोक्यावरती नाहीच आहे, त्यामुळे हे समोरचेच लाव. आणि रिमोट नाहीये का इथे एसीचा? नाहीये. इथे आहे का? टेम्परेचर एकदा बघ किती आहेत. ते 18 तर अजिबातच वाटत नाहीये. ठीक आहे. Sorry for the disturbance, online students. Will continue. So I was discussing about ways. So stating some examples, stating some fact, stating objective of that particular government scheme or mission, some constitutional or directive principles article, some definition. Okay, that can be the ways, different ways of starting an answer. If you are not finding any of these particular things in your notes, in your memory at that time, it is definitely going to be easy to start with at least a definition. Definition is easy. You can make up definition if you have understood the concept directly as well, okay, without memorizing it, etc., etc. If you're not creative, then fix your structure. If you're not creative at the time of the examination, example starting with DPSP, fundamental rights, or definition approach, whatever you are more comfortable with. If you're not creative, if you are creative, if you can think of many things, you keep it dynamic in each and every question, according to your memory, according to whatever you can recall, write it in that particular manner. For example, one of the questions, Animesh Pradhan, he has mentioned DPSP Article 39B and Sustainable Development Goal 10 emphasizes to arrest the concentration of wealth and utilize it for common good. Okay? So what this is, he has mentioned directive principle, also sustainable development goal. So some of the constitutional provisions, if they are relevant, we can definitely use it. I hope you are getting the point how to introduce. Okay? Definitional approach, make definitions at that moment itself. No need to memorize and no need to be entirely word-wise correct as per definition of Merriam-Webster dictionary, etc., etc. No required. Okay? Whatever you have understood, you can write it in that manner. Stating typologies of that particular things can also help. Don't write opinion in the beginning itself. This is important. Now I want to emphasize and answer this, elaborate on this particular point. What happens is that, for example, there could be few questions. What is your opinion? What is your opinion on? Kind of question. That topic might be about corruption. That topic could be about this slogan of minimum government, maximum governance, whatever it might be. It might be your opinion on Uniform Civil Code. It might be your opinion on Article 370. It might be your opinion on construction of Ram Temple. It might be your opinion on electoral bonds for that matter, or use of ED, use of CBI, etc., etc. Okay? I hope you are getting the point. What kinds of opinion-based questions I am talking about. If those opinion-based questions are divisive in nature, what is I'm trying to convey by divisive? That is, few of the people might have extremely negative opinion on that topic. Few of them might have extremely positive opinion on that topic. You might have some of that. Okay? But while writing the answer, if you directly start with the statement that, in my opinion, I feel that it is important step to bring in uniform civil code in the country. If you start with this only, okay? Examiner, if he or she is of the entirely opposite opinion, he or she might have that first impression of yours as if you belong to that camp. Okay? Even if you might definitely have lots of different in a way factual parameters or points to prove that your point is right, even if you might have lots of advantages to state for your points, but that examiner might carry that impression throughout the paper for that matter, or throughout at least that question when he or she is evaluating. That's why originally try to define again for such particular topics. If you have been asked opinion on a particular topic, write what that topic is. For example, UCC. UCC is Uniform Civil Code, which will bring in uniformity in terms of personal laws. Okay? So this is definition of Uniform Civil Code. Then write few things, few aspects of it. Write advantages of bringing in UCC. Write disadvantages of bringing in UCC. If you want to, in a way, give opinion, make it a point in mains because you have a scope over here. Make it a point to present both the sides of the picture. Whichever side of the picture you want to present more, whichever side of the picture you want to take side of, write more points of advantage of that particular side. Write less on the points of disadvantages automatically. And then at the end, say that by analyzing above advantages and disadvantages, I feel that bringing in UCC will be helpful for India's unity in diversity. Getting the point what I'm trying to convey? Okay? So giving our opinion at the last will make the examiner also realize that yes, he or she knows both the sides of the picture. He is not fanatic and taking a stand just by getting inspired by an ideology. I hope you are getting the point. Okay? And if you want to state it at the first as well, it is possible, it is okay. When it should be done, when your answer is so persuasive, I hope you are getting the word persuasive, is that you are able to persuade that particular examiner, even though he or she might have entirely 180-degree opposite opinion of yours, your points are so strong that that examiner also is getting convinced. Then only write the opinion at the beginning itself. But it is not going to be possible for everyone to have that much persuasive power in their answers and words every time on every issue. That's why it is okay and it is fine to keep it at the end for that matter. Okay? So that is what I wanted to say about don't write opinion in the beginning. I hope all 9 students have been able to understand what I'm trying to convey over here. If any one of you has any kind of doubt, please feel free to ask in the chat box as well. I'm here to take your question and answer those as well. Okay? Then don't write recently, write month if you know, etc. Yeah. Yeah, do you agree? Yes. Yeah, you may start again if you strongly agree and if you are convinced about your own ability to convince someone who might not be entirely agreeing to what you are saying. Okay? If you feel that you don't have that much conviction on that point, then first state what that topic is, as we just mentioned, write some advantages, some disadvantages of that, and at the end take a paragraph of conclusion wherein you are weighing the pros and cons and then coming to the conclusion. Because of above disadvantages, I feel that it should not be done. So at the end, because it gives you safer playground to play with that particular topic. Okay? So that is the point that I wanted to convey. Dhanesh is saying, means in opinion, we can mention both positive and negative points. Definitely, because many of the times, wherever do you think, do you agree, such kinds of questions are going to be asked. Those are not going to be of simple nature. Those are definitely going to have both sides of the coin. We should show as an officer, because of the fact that what they are checking basically in all the answers for that matter. They are trying to check your power of analysis, your thinking, whether you are able to come across various different dimensions of that subject quickly, whether you are able to analyze those and then come to some of the decisions that you want to make. They are checking your officer-like abilities. Now understand, while they are checking your officer-like abilities, they are going to check your neutrality. They are going to check your analysis. They are going to check your data assimilation, how many different points you can assimilate and come to a conclusion. They are going to check your non-biasness as well. They are going to check how much you are able to sensitively deal with various different dimensions, etc., etc. That's why, as an officer, you have to be quick decision maker. They are trying to check that as well. But they should not feel as if you are rushing into a decision. They should not feel as if you are giving an opinion, that opinion is biased, that opinion is based on intuitions, based on ideological connotations, etc., etc. That's why you have to present that particular aspect in such a manner which is going to be proving that you have considered multiple aspects and still you are choosing to side with one of the sides of that particular issue. Okay, got it clear?